Well, hello. Welcome to my cellar. My 91st one on YouTube. I'm getting real close to 100 altogether because there were some I did before I started them on YouTube. And there's some that aren't numbered. So anyway, doesn't matter. Three things to talk about. Several things to talk about tonight. Some questions to answer. Some stuff to follow up on. First off, well, congratulations, GenCon. You made it through another one, and this year we didn't have any unseemly fistfights. No social justice warriors running around screaming about assaults and yeah. Yay, you made it through. Good. Let's see. All right. I got a couple of things to talk about here before we go into general gaming stuff. Let's talk about the great suck that is Steam. A couple of my friends and I, several of us the other night, we're going to go play on Steam. We do that semi-frequently. When it works right. The other night we tried playing and locked up. The bots would lock up. We play Scythe. Okay, it's the only way you can play Scythe online. There's no other way. So they've got a monopoly, and then they treat you like something they scraped off the bottom of their shoe because the damn site doesn't work right. So basically, we had planned all week to get together on Wednesday night and play. Because playing online, we can generally, in the time between 7:30 and midnight, we can get 3 games in. Which is better than we can do face-to-face. Face-to-face more fun, but anyway. Well, we didn't get any games in. Come on, Steam. Do it better. You charge us. You make yourselves a monopoly gateway, and then you don't work with us shit. Get it together. Come on. Now I got a question. There's a series on Netflix besides Stranger Things. Truly, there are. This one's called Riverdale. Now, when I decided recently, and I know it's been on for a while, when I decided recently to check it out, I did it solely for the purpose of seeing what they had done to the old story. Now, I was not a Archie Comics fan as a young man, and I was familiar with the world of Archie in Riverdale because, as I mentioned before, I had access to strip comics, so I got tons of comics, piles, stacks of them, that when I got bored enough, I read them all the way down through the bottom. Anyway, it's interesting. It's kind of interesting the way they've reinvented, but not really. They reskinned the old Riverdale and what's going on. And Jughead's actually, instead of being a doofus, he's actually the most interesting character in there. But here's the problem I have with this show. Betty and Veronica and even that horrid redheaded bitch are all highly attractive women playing girls. There's something really twisted here. The girl that plays, the young woman who plays Veronica, there's no way in God's green earth she's a 17-year-old. None of them, Betty, and none of them. No, come on. And they got Archie tapping his music teacher in the beginning. So, woo, it's really different. But, okay, number one, we've got Archie and the English and the music teacher. Very, very bad thing nowadays. And then we have these women, these girls, these women playing girls wearing designer clothing. And just how much of a perv does it make you when you look at that young woman that plays Betty or Veronica, either one, they're both rather attractive. And you go, wow, they're really attractive. Oh, they're supposed to be 17. Ooh, how distasteful is that? So anyway, what's going on there? Huh? Come on. What are we supposed to do? All right. Now, I'm going to read this. And I'm gonna embarrass this entity, because there's no excuse to write this poorly and publish it, to having a mistake. Okay, this is EnWorld. EnWorld apparently is reskinning itself. So I read from their post. EnWorld is one of the oldest tabletop role-playing game sites and communities on the internet, having launched in 2019. Wow! That could make it 8 months old. I think there's a mistake there. In 2019 is a fan site for D&D 3rd edition. Well, we know that was a hell of a lot sooner than 2019. So something's wrong here. And the reason I'm bothered by this is this information was put out there by the people who do the site. This is about themselves, and they got it wrong. Typo, whatever I don't care. And no, I don't particularly give a shit one way or another about EnWorld. It's fine for those who want it. No, they changed some stuff. Okay. The least they could do is get their own facts straight. Now, I have a self-recrimination to make. I was not supposed to talk about the Kickstarter when I did. I jumped the gun. And let me explain a couple of things. Unlike many Kickstarters that have bad planning, the way that we do these, and I say we, and I'm talking about Jared Nielsen, World of Game Design, Old Guard Games, Dice Fanatics, okay, all similar people. Magazine, we're going to start sometime in the late fall, I guess. I'm getting articles for it already. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah. We do things different. We don't do add-ons or stretch goals. I can tell you right now that the Curse of the Weaver Queen, both halves are written. Both halves are have been edited, typeset, and the layout has been stripped in. The artwork has, I would say 95% of the artwork, because there's quite a lot of it, is in hand now, and layout is proceeding. But it'll be a little while, because we don't do stretch goals. We have everything all at once. There's a dice tower that's connected with this. There's going to be some figures connected with this. Maybe even do one of our pains, this new thing that we're doing with, no, you don't have to see it to believe it. Anyway, it's going to be a little while. The problem being this: Jared's mother-in-law, and all the mother-in-law jokes aside, Jared's mother-in-law got very ill, and Jared's wife immediately went home to take care of her mom. Well, Jared has a wife and offspring. And so his life got pretty much turned around upside down and derailed for 3 weeks. So it's going to be a little longer. Again, we've got the layout blocked out. This is not going to be we got to finish it. When we say, okay, here it is, Everything will be in place. I've written the adventure. It's been converted to 5, and it was written for original or first. The artwork is finished. I'm going to start teasing the artwork next week, a little bit at a time, just to share some of it with you. I'm not trying to get any, I'm not trying to build up a huge groundswell or anything, but I do feel that I owe you an explanation that no, we're not the normal Kickstarter. We'll say when we're ready, okay, here's this package. We have these 2 adventures. There's this dice tower. There's these figures, yada, yada, dee. This is the bundle. This is what it costs. Do you like it? Fine, sign up. And one of them's yours. If you don't, that's fine. We aren't going to keep stringing you along. We're not going to have stretch goals that take 6 more months to fulfill. When it comes online, it will be complete, and we will just be counting how many copies we need to produce. So again, sorry. Yeah, my own fault. I spoke too soon. My bad. Okay, here's a new thing. In recent weeks, we've been talking about various groups, various people wanting to, or already being involved in, using roleplay in various therapeutic fashions. Whether it's teaching, whether it's stress relief, whether it's PTSD, there are lots of groups out there forming up that use roleplay. I would like to become simply the clearinghouse. All right. I was contacted by a group called the Bodana Group. They're out of York, Pennsylvania. They're a 501(c), and they are heavily involved in using roleplay as therapy in several different endeavors. There are other groups that have reached out to me and said that they're interested in or are already involved in this. And I'd like to be able to put you guys in touch with each other. So that said, I'm going to find somebody, one of my sponsors, whatever, that'll set aside a little space in the cloud somewhere, and we'll be a clearinghouse for organizations such as this, and be able to share ideas. For instance, the Bodana Group in Pennsylvania is researching whether or not it can charter chapters that are not located in Pennsylvania. And I happen to know from past experience that 501(c)s in Wisconsin can be chartered to other chapters in other states. So we're checking these things out. I'd really like to see more of this. I do believe that we can do a lot of good. The anecdotal evidence is already there. Let's get into it hip deep and see what we can do. So if you're interested, in the comments, lead off with, role-playing as therapy, RPG as therapy, or something like that. And I'll put you guys in touch, you guys. Again, a reminder, I'm old. I use now inappropriate pronouns. But hey, when I'm hollering at my grandkids, more of which are girls than boys, and I holler you guys, they all know I just mean all of them. So anyway, let's get over that. So anyway, whoever's doing it, for whatever reason, we can all learn from each other by sharing techniques, sharing tricks that worked, things we discovered, what have you. Okay, now let's get on to some gaming stuff, shall we? All right, I'm guilty of something that I was told I was guilty of a while back, and here it is again. I used the term last episode. I said it was in response to multi-classes, and I said I used the term in regard to who started the multi-classes, and I used the term min-max or a min-maxer. Okay, min-max is shorthand for minimum/maximum. It's a very derogatory term in terms of the industry and game developers. We don't like min-maxers because they're always looking for a way to minimize the bad parts of the bad that you have to take to get the good. Okay, they want to minimize the effect of something on their character while maximizing their abilities, and it's just a bad ethic. And so I apologize. I used a buzzword that I should have explained firsthand. And when I do that, call me on it. I don't mean to sound like an elitist. It's just a term I've been using for so long. I forgot that some people are considerably younger than me and probably haven't heard that term before. Okay, now this is an interesting one. Hello, sir. Just wanted you to know my boys and I won the last empty box and signed Twinkie you tossed at GenCon 50. Paid $200 for the artifact, and it was said we will see how much it goes for next year. My answer to that was it'll never see the auction at GenCon again. We enjoyed all of you older fellas. Old bird. This guy's an old bird farmer himself, which is a Navy term for someone who served on an aircraft carrier. And they liked our all right. They're basically talking mostly about me and Frank, but also me and Frank are the only two that have quit recently. Anyway, histories and stories. That was Frank, and send an email if you want some pics. Yeah, I definitely. If you got pics of when Frank and I were working, I'd like to see that. Yeah, it was something silly we did that year. I started something here in Cincinnati years ago. I was running an auction. This was back in the early 80s. I was running a local auction. And back then, we didn't have good practices in place. And idiots had raised, the bids by a nickel. And it was more the calling for bids as opposed to hold your hand up until it's too expensive, like they do now at GenCon. Much better, much more efficient way. So anyway, I happened to have a sack full of Twinkies, and somebody did one of that, it was like $2.50, $2.55, and I'd had it. I reached underneath the podium, and I grabbed a Twinkie, and I hurled it at the person who was an acquaintance, a friend, hit him square in the chest, and I told him that was a Twinkie bid, and I wasn't going to hear any, and brought the house down. So I started doing Twinkies. And then years later, when I went to GenCon, I started using Twinkies. And we used Twinkies for insults. And we used Twinkies for, especially in the charity auction, we would use Twinkies if you rounded up. Hey, give that man a Twinkie. Or that woman, or that boy, or that girl, whoever it was. And so we got to use Twinkies. And so that last year at 50, because I knew it was my last year, we went out and got a box, and so I was signing Twinkies. And the thing about coming back to see what it'd go for next year, the GenCon auction has a traveling Kriegspiel, and it gets auctioned every year, and for the right to take it home for a year. Kriegspiel's a suck game, but it was a tradition, and so we thought we'd start one with a Twinkie box. And hence it's never coming back. And well, thank you for the sentiment. Sorry you missed me, but I don't miss doing the auction because that was way, way, way too much like work for no compensation. I didn't call a place a flop. Compensation, adequate compensation, but I did it willingly. Not anymore. Yeah, I'll definitely send you an email when sometime in the next day or two. I'm getting really excited. My son and his family who live down in Flower Mound, Texas, are coming up, and we're going to see them Sunday, and we'll have all 18 of them here. My entire clan of 18 will be here. Cheryl and I were talking about it tonight, and we got a couple of grandchildren who haven't even started having babies yet, so who knows how big this clan will get. Tree's got a lot of branches on it already, though. It's pretty cool. Hey, Tim, do you have a time slot yet for the AppleCon escape game? Escape from Dulce. Signed up for your Tuesday evening run of blame. No, I don't know when they're going to run it. I'm going to run it more than once because I'm only setting it up to be able to teach 6 players each time in 2 hours. So they're devising a special scenario and a special setup and all that. And so I hope to run it at least twice. The same way with Scythe. I hope to run it at least twice if I get the interest. I'd like to teach people how to play it. And that goes on to another part of the question. When I go to cons, do you play at anybody else's games or you just run them? I mostly run them. The primary reason is that most cons I go to, I'm a guest. They count me on the room. If it's a long way away, they fly me. And I owe them as many hours as I can produce for them to, recoup their money, quite frankly. And I take that seriously. That's why I ran big adventures. In fact, in the beginning, they told me to, blood sugar goes down and I get the hiccups. They told me to write adventures for fewer people because I was sucking too many out of the pool in my hour or whenever my time slot was. So the real exception. See, the thing is that I was known for certain games. I was known for Circus Maximus, and I started the tradition that's still on at GaryCon. I started the tradition that's still on at North Texas RPG Con of playing Circus Maximus. And now I take to the 2 cons that I drive to. I take Dirt Track Saturday night. That's another game that I run, and that's all Saturday. That's at least 4 hours on Saturday night. And the ones I play in are generally charity games. I know Doug Ray down in Texas has had me play in several of his charity games. I played in a charity game a couple of Gary Cons ago that I had. Oh God, I had a great time. I was turned into a spider with 130 eyes or some horrible shit, but it was fun. And after all, that's what we're here for, is to have fun. And that's why you do it, right? Have fun. So, no, there's a con on the East Coast that I've gone to for many years, and I'm not going to this year simply because the date conflicts with a con in Denver that I am going to. They've asked me to be their guest, and I do make a point of learning games, board games. This Total Confusion Gaming Con has a very strong program of board games and a very large area that they play in. And so I like to go and look at new games, watch. I'll introduce myself when I come up so they'll think I'm some creepy old guy that's not lurking. But I'll just say, can I watch a little bit? I'd like to see how this game plays. So I have learned several board games, or at least decided, I like this game. I'm going to buy it for myself. So I watch them, and on Sunday, it depends on the con. I've played games on Sundays because Sunday's kind of a letdown, unwind day. But most of the time, I run as many games as I'm comfortable running, and nowadays that's just a physical thing. Because I feel I owe the organizers, as many hours of game. I try. GaryCon sets a standard what they would like you to shoot for. I've been exceeding it for years and probably will continue to exceed it. And so I give them as many hours of me running, because people don't come to play in a game with me as a fellow player. If they come because my name meant something, they come to play in my game. as a player and hope to be either outwit me or die gloriously, as the case may be. Let's see, what else we got to talk about? Vindication, new board game. It's a Kickstarter. I don't know if they have extra copies. Some Kickstarters are real close. Some Kickstarters gamble. It's from a company called Orange Nebula. OrangeNebula.com. Looks to be a really excellent game. Quality pieces. Really interesting premise for the gameplay. Basically, you're a low-life scumbag who's not worth the P to P on you. Up till this point, you wash ashore on this deserted, weird jungle island, and you seek vindication. You go on quests. You seek things out. You get blessings, and at some point, you become vindicated. And it's an interesting concept. I'm to the point now that I'm all about interesting concepts and gameplay as a result of. The only thing I see that might be a problem with this game, and this is again because you're taking the principles of role playing and applying them to a board, is that they say that each turn will be 15 to 30 minutes each. Now, as anybody knows, that when you first plan, you double that. So I would say that it's not likely, unless a bunch of players get together and commit to an all-day thing, that it's anything you're going to sit down and master right off the bat. That said, it looks like it's worth it. It's worth the investment in time and effort. Marvelous design, neat playing aids, neat storage pieces, neat game pieces. It's got all the things going. And again, if they have extras and they're selling them, jump on it, because the way they packed mine, wow, couldn't complain about that at all. Wonderful packing. Oh, let's see. What else do we have going on? Game Hole's coming, but before that, we're going to be all just found out that a good friend and his wife are both going to be at AppleCon. So that's delightful. And my wife will get to meet them both. Really looking forward to AppleCon. That's going to be a lot of fun. In many ways, looking forward equally to GenCon. Or GenCon. No. We're never going to GenCon again. Game Hole. In November. Actually, the tail end of October. And what's going to be most fun there is where the organizers are inviting the general public to bring their kids up to trick or treat in the dealer hall. Now, follow up on something I mentioned earlier about having gotten back in touch with some of the old players from my first group. And we're going to try and track down as many of them as we can. And if nothing else comes out of it other than, hey, how you doing, all that kind of thing, I'm going to give everybody a letter that says, yep, they were one of the very first play testers of the game, yada, yada, yada. So when they brag, they got something to go for it. Or if they're an ephemera collector, they'll have some. Anyway, Doug Swagman got a hold of me. And I don't remember everybody by the character they played, but he gave me some names to help. There's Steve Alvin. We got to look for him, get in touch with him. Kevin Brown, Bruce Van Meter, the Hobbit, big tall skinny guy. He was the first occasion I noticed that people, when picking player characters, like to really step outside their skin. 6'4", 300-pound guys that play hobbits, or else they play elves, or whatever. And hey, that's what it's about. It's fantasy. Those of us that were couch potatoes were big dashing fighters. So where do you criticize and where do you not? Let's see, who else? We had 2 clerics named Perry and Rich, and we can't remember any last names. So if anybody remembers them, they'd have been playing in 74 and 75 in Carbondale. Weird Bear finally got his name, Bill Williams. It's so funny that these names stuck, the nickname stuck. Hogbait, Steve Swafford. He became he went to work in the office of the Attorney General in the state of Illinois. Mike Holdhouse, he was one of our players, and he came up with a dungeon war concept, and it was quite successful, and he ran it for a number of years at GenCon. We think that's probably all the ones, though we do have Jonathan Dotson, and we are trying to find out who Deathless Bob was, because I so want to identify Deathless Bob, because as I pointed out to John Dotson, who was our old faculty representative, or faculty liaison, he's possibly the best known, anecdotally, the best known D&D player from the old days of anywhere, because I've told the story time and time again. So that's what we're doing there. So AppleCon shortly. Then I'll be home in the Quad Cities. So Quad City gamers, let's get together. Let's find a pizzeria that'll let us have the back room. I'll run a game for you. I'll bring a game and teach it. One of the questions, I missed a phrase on the other thing earlier about do I play games or do I run them? I really enjoy teaching other people how to play a game that I like. All right. That's the old teacher in me. It's the old magazine publisher in me. Hey, check out this neat game. You want to play it? So Quad Cities people, let's get together and figure something out, because it's coming up. Other than that, I can't think of anything I need to deal with. Please feel free to leave comments. That's what I try to run on, is comments. I did post a video on my channel that is not to do with gaming, and I will be responding to some of the feedback on it in the next week or so. It has nothing to do with gaming, but everything to do with the crazy shit that's going on in this country right now. So, I guess that's all I got. Dodada Govey. Oh, hello. I'm still figuring out when this thing starts. Welcome to my cellar.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs. Still quite a feller, a curmudgeon in the cellar.
Last man around when them rates went down. Calling Gary in that Lake Geneva town. Hey Gary, it's an awful mess. Let me edit, we'll have success. D&D and Dragon Magazine.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite a feller, a curmudgeon in the cellar.
Magic missile, it's a mortar shell. Make it hit in the first level spell. Brought psionics to the game to attack that wizard's grave. PSR and fantasy, collection of micro armory, tight with tramp under a tree, high as could be. He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Curmudgeon.